We are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Thursday, May 11th. I am Josh Engleman. I am joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by Underdog, and everything is different. Ayton out, Shamet starting, and evidently Time Lord into the starting lineup in place of Derek White. Plus, we have no idea what the status of Jamal Murray is. He is sick, did not go through shoot around. We are in for a hell of a night. Everything we thought we knew, no longer the case. So make sure you're hitting that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter because we've got a lot to talk about. Adam, what's up?
Yeah, totally different slate. Different than, I'm sure, your show this morning, different than the article I wrote earlier, different than the Bet Pro video I recorded earlier, different than the lineups I made 5 minutes before the show, thinking I was going to have something to talk about on the show. So yeah, everything changed.
Normally I'm down to screw around. We don't have it. We got a lot to talk about. Let's dive in right now to Boston. News just came out. It is expected Robert Williams will start in place of Derek White. We're looking at Smart, Brown, Tatum, Horford, and Robert Williams. So we need to start right here. What's your expectation on playing time here for Robert Williams?
If he plays well, a lot.
Yeah. I'm thinking like I want to go 26.
I was thinking 26, 28, somewhere in there. Like, you're not starting.
And that's going to be more than enough, by the way. So it won't really matter. Like 26 and 28, I don't think are going to cause a lot of changes for you when you're creating lineups.
Right. At his price, as long as, even if you go 24, you're getting a lot of it. It's not, I mean, this is an elimination game for them. They have to win this game. They're not throwing him in the starting lineup with the expectation that he ends up playing 20 minutes instead of 16. Like, they could just do that off the bench. They, obviously things happen. He could get in foul trouble. He could get hurt. He could play really, really poorly to where it's just like, all right, well, that's not working. But you have to think the expectation here is significant minutes for Robert Williams.
That is where I'm going. So I'm going 26 here. The other question then becomes, what is your expectation for Derek White now? Coming off the bench, he has seemed to be, I don't want to say like the most likely guy to get pinched here, but it has happened. If Brogdon's running hot, they seem to defer to Smart no matter what. Are we moving White down to like 26 as well?
Maybe even lower than that. But yeah, he was one where, like, even looking at sort of what they'd produced in this series, like Derek White is averaged, and obviously this isn't completely apples to apples to like how you're playing in a basketball game, but Derek White's produced half of a fantasy point per minute in this series. And like you said, Smart is, at least so far, has pretty clearly been the guy that's going to get those minutes no matter what. And then you've gotten a hot hand situation between Brogdon and White. But if you're going, I guess the thing that really concerns me here is if your defense first lineup is now going to be Robert Williams over Derek White, what role is Derek White actually serving? Because Malcolm Brogdon is your scorer off the bench. And if you're going to prefer going to Robert Williams over Derek White defensively, it becomes hard for me to like figure out the situation where White plays big minutes unless Williams plays really poorly or gets in foul trouble, or White just, happens to shoot aggressively well from three or something. But outside of like those really random things, it's hard for me to think now, like, what lineup does, like, what closing lineup, for example, does Derek White get into?
I think he can be in the normal closing lineup that just then doesn't include Time Lord.
Like he could, but I'm saying like
I think it's like the fourth or fifth choice now.
Right. Like it can't be the favorite at this point.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think this starting lineup is the favorite. I think that Brogdon for Robert Williams is probably a more likely scenario than Derek White for Robert Williams at this point. Do you think that this news matters at all to Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, basically like everybody else other than Derek White?
Not really, no.
Same. By the way, 3,600 for Robert Williams, center only at 26 minutes, even with what I consider to be a very pessimistic projection. I don't know how you don't just bombs away on this dude.
It could have some, the one thing, Jason Tatum's got like a 17.5% rebounding percentage in this series. That could certainly come down a bit now.
Sure. By the way, White now 4,900 does have the MPE, which is helpful. Not going to pull any sort of real ownership, I would imagine, at this point in time. Could be an interesting like pay down to be contrarian guy, but or pay up to be contrarian, whatever you want to say. But I just don't get the sense that he's going to look good. To me, he's probably going to be the very clear worst option from Boston, depending on how you want to include Grant Williams.
Who are you talking about?
White.
Okay. Well,
like we're not really going to be getting to him much now, right? He's like a 5%er now.
Yeah, like I think now he is like the ownership's going to come down. It's still a 2-game slate. If you're playing a bunch of tournament lineups, he's still playable because, again, things do happen. Williams can get in foul trouble. White can just, the way this whole NBA season's gone, what would happen is everybody should be lowering their projections on Derek White, and then he's going to go out there and like hit his first 6 threes. And but so like there are still paths to get there, and at some point, the ownership, say it does get down to like 5 to 10%, it does become somewhat interesting because he is still really cheap, and you're also not just relying on like Williams foul trouble. If Smart gets in foul trouble, that's more for White. There are still paths for him to get there, but certainly makes him look substantially worse than he did 10 minutes ago.
What do you think this does to Grant Williams?
I assume that he's going to play similar minutes. It wouldn't shock me if he played less now. Cool. I think it mostly makes him less appealing to me. He wasn't that appealing to me in the first place. But one thing I had said in my article earlier was, with this being an elimination game for Boston, there's a good chance they do something different. And the two people most likely to benefit from doing something different were Robert Williams and Grant Williams. Now that we have the answer that it's Robert Williams at least getting the first crack here, you know that it isn't Grant Williams. Now, could they also be saying, oh, we're going to play Grant Williams more off the bench too? Like, sure, they could. But it kind of makes me a little bit less interested in that angle just because they've already said, you're like, oh, well, we're starting Robert Williams.
I ran my first sim, at least for FanDuel. Robert Williams, number one, 57% of optimals. Very difficult to get away from. He is more expensive on FanDuel at 4,800, but even still, looking good. Going to start comparing him to Jock Landale and Bismack Biyombo in a bit, but for right now, that's where we stand. Do you have any like wholesale thoughts on Tatum, Brown, any of the other Celtics guys right now?
One thing that did stand out from just kind of looking at what they've done so far in this series, again, you're not necessarily trying to read too much into that, but one thing that does happen in the postseason is you are getting the same matchup over and over and over, and you have coaches that are actively scheming to make things happen and give you different looks. Not only so far does Jason Tatum have a usage rate about 5 points higher than Jaylen Brown, his rebounding percentage was about double, and his assist percentage was about the same. So through the first 5 games, and this isn't to say Brown isn't a good play, he's averaging about a fantasy point per minute. He's very likely to play 40 plus minutes here. He's fine, but it does stand out how, and it's not to say that there won't be or can't be a game where Jaylen Brown does take over, as we've seen plenty, but there is a bigger gap in terms of what those two are doing than there normally is.
What's your expectation for minutes here for these guys? Because this is something that I realized yesterday that I got wrong for Brunson and for Steph, in that their backs were against the wall, and I did not give Brunson the full bore of what I should have done I didn't want to. I made that change today for Tatum and went to 42. Yeah. Didn't make that change for Brunson yesterday, and that was probably pretty costly given the way that it shook out.
Yeah, I was going to say 42. Like 46, 48 is on the table, but obviously you can't really go there.
Right. You want to go 46 to somebody today, that's got to be Booker and Durant.
Yeah, I was going to say, so Booker, Durant were like 42-minute projections anyway. Those two are like 44 probably now.
I went to 43, I believe, but we can have that conversation.
We don't need to debate 43 versus 44.
Sure. Well, it's a big minute when you start trying to compare like Kevin Durant to Jason Tatum, or Booker to the same thing. Wild stuff here, man. Okay, so let's sum up Boston. Robert Williams is the best play on today's slate, the second best play on today's slate, something in that neighborhood.
Yeah, you have Landale who he's competing with, obviously, but it's got to be one of those two.
Right. Who's the best play that isn't Robert Williams now for Boston? Is that Tatum?
Either Tatum or Smart.
Okay.
Just depending on sort of like how you're framing that, because Tatum does look very, very good. Smart is going to be easier to get into lineups since you're not kicking out Durant, Booker, Jokic, Embiid when you do it.
All right, we got a super chat from my filler arc. Tatum, Durant, or Harden? Durant.
Yeah, Durant.
Yeah. Not that I feel bad about getting to any piece of that, but I think it's got to be Durant.
Yeah, they all look good. But one thing that was really interesting to me, obviously Devin Booker has gotten like all of the attention because of his scoring. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are producing like the same fantasy points per minute in this series. And then both averaging like 41, 42 minutes. But as far as that question goes, Harden is third for me because one, he's not the top scorer on his team. And two, he's the only one not facing elimination today. Durant and Tatum, I think, are much closer. I would give the slight edge to Durant just because it's kind of like we were just talking about. Tatum's been playing big minutes, but Durant's been playing bigger minutes. I assume that trend continues. Like, I think they both play more today than they've averaged, but still assume like Durant, I think, is slightly more likely to play 48 minutes than Tatum is.
Agreed. I think it's really hard to separate those two. Like if you're someone that has a lean to Tatum, by all means, like we're quibbling about two of like the top 10 players in the NBA at basically the same price and position. It's in the same role too for today. It becomes a little complicated. At least.
So like I haven't rerun everything for the Robert Williams news, obviously, because that came out as we started. But in the stuff I'd run before the show, if I were playing 150 lineups on DraftKings, I'd be at about 60% Tatum, about 40 or 60% Durant, about 40% Tatum. I wouldn't care if that was a little bit closer, but yeah, slight edge for Durant.
All righty. I'm rerunning everything now. I just know that lots of Robert Williams.
Yes.
Really going to be interesting center builds now between Robert Williams, Biyombo, Landale, and then do you get Embiid? Like, what do you do with Embiid and Jokic now?
Right. The one big, I think, effect this has is when I ran my lineups earlier, I was perfectly fine playing Biyombo and Landale together because they're both so cheap. They're likely to combine for like 40 plus minutes, and it was like, Robert Williams could beat Bismack Biyombo. I think that's a reasonable take. But now it's, but it was like, okay, 18 minutes of him, 20 from Biyombo. Like, I don't mind having those two together. I don't want it to always be Robert Williams just because I have Landale. Now I'm more hesitant to do that. Like, if I'm playing Landale, I would rather play Williams than Biyombo. If I'm playing, if I'm playing Biyombo, I'd rather play Williams than Landale because I'm hoping Landale gets in foul trouble.
Right. Anything else for Boston? Do we talk at all about, I don't have anything to say about Al Horford.
Yeah, he's just kind of there.
Like
the power forward eligibility on him is nice, but there's also just so many good plays in that price range. And now you're just getting more value than usual too. So, you have you already had the value at center from Phoenix. Now you add Williams in, you have the rest of the Phoenix, garbage value with Shamet, Warren, Ross, those guys. It makes, the 5K range a little bit less valuable, and then just the abundance of guys in that range, whether it's Smart, Brogdon, Campaign, Maxi Harris, a little bit more expensive, but there's just so many guys in that range. Horford just is sort of there.
Hit the like button. Let's start there. 1,100 people, 100 likes. Let's run that up to 150 if we can. We've got NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. That's the only live content we have after this. They'll go from 6:30 to 7:30. Going to be a hell of a night. Make sure you're not missing that. And then we got to talk lineup generator. I know we've been talking about it a couple of times across these shows, but we just dropped the MLB lineup generator this week. You can get your first week for 50% off. That's going to be less than $5. Use the promo code baseball for all, or just please click the link and don't try to type in the promo code. We talked a lot about the NBA version of this. The MLB one, same general features. You choose chalky builds, balanced builds, contrarian builds. We create thousands and thousands of lineups on the back end, and then we get rid of all the junk to start. We present the rest to you. You could lock players and swap players and export up to 20 via CSV, but you can pick your stacks for baseball. It looks a little bit more like the NFL version. So if you're playing on DraftKings, you could pick 5-3 stacks or 4-4 stacks, or if you just want a 5-man stack and 3 randos, you could do that as well. For FanDuel, it's 4 4s and 4 3s or 4 2 2s. Picking that stacking, massive for you. You're going to get exactly what you're looking for. If you're trying to get better at MLB DFS, this is an excellent way to start, precisely because it's less than $5 for your first week. If you don't like it during that week, you just cancel. You're out $4.48. That is a pretty good deal. So come check out our newest tool, the MLB lineup generator. Cody Anderson with the super chat. Big old super chat, too. Tied for first in the 100K on DraftKings. So stoked. Stokastic, I guess. Thank you guys for all the content. I love what you guys do. Still in disbelief. It's going to help me in so many ways. Keep up the good work, everyone.
Yeah, congrats
man. It's always great to see. I was not part of that chop, unfortunately. So you get a couple extra bucks by not including me. I'm sure you're very happy about that. Let's see. What did we end up chopping for last night?
Like 17.5, I think.
Yeah, it's 17.8. That's not too shabby, right? That's a good day. You don't mind chopping with 11 or 10 of your best friends. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
I assume you're code man 444, if I had to guess. Decent return.
Yeah, that's a solid one. Like, it's still enough money that you're happy and you don't feel like self-conscious because you chopped with 800 people.
No, that's one that you're like, holy shit, I have 17 grand in my DraftKings account. Yeah. Big dub. So congrats, man. That's awesome. Good to see. Now we go to Philly. Not a lot to say here for Philadelphia. We kind of know what they're doing. Seems like maybe Daniel House has become Jalen McDaniels. I don't think that it's super relevant for today. Highest owned guys are Embiid and Harris. Obviously, Harden, Maxey playing 38, 39, 40, 41, something in that neighborhood minutes. Talk about whatever you would like here for Philly, because I don't think there's a lot of like new stuff here.
I mean, the Embiid piece is all that's really changed because now you have all the value at center. It looks like we're probably in the process of updating our stuff because I just lost access to optimal percentage and ownership percentage on DraftKings. Yeah. But you're going to see the optimal percentage for Embiid just come down from where it was earlier today. But you're also going to see the ownership come down because now you're already getting a ton to Landale. You're getting some to Biyombo. Now you're just going to get a bunch to Robert Williams as well. And obviously on DraftKings, if you're rostering two centers and you go Landale Williams, you don't have Embiid. So it creates like a really, really interesting situation where like on a lot of these previous slates, the popular way to build lineups has been to get to Jokic or Embiid, sometimes go to Landale, go to Ayton, but pay up for one of those centers and then use the Shamet, Ross, Warren, Okogie, whatever value, use the guard value from campaign and from the Celtics to afford it. And, then you can also typically fit in, like Durant or Tatum or something like that. The consensus way to build now today is going to be get to Durant and Booker, get to Durant and Tatum, get to Tatum and Booker, punt center. And it's going to, I think, leave the field open or vulnerable to an Embiid blow-up game or a Jokic blow-up game. Like because of the value at center now, they aren't like automatically optimal. If Jokic hits like scores like 64 DraftKings points, 65 DraftKings points, he's not like automatically optimal anymore because Landale and Williams, if they go for like 25 to 30 and the rest of those pay up wings and guards have big games, you're just going to have higher lineups by paying down at center. But it is, I think, going to leave the field sort of vulnerable to if Embiid does just drop 70, 75 DraftKings points, and this goes for Jokic too, obviously, a little bit on a lesser scale because he is $2,000 more expensive than Embiid. But it's going to sort of leave the field vulnerable in that sense where it's just a contrarian roster build now to have Embiid or Jokic. And so it makes him an entirely different play than he was earlier. Earlier, it was like, he's one of the highest projected guys on the slate. He looks really good. His production's been down a bit in this series, around 1.35 DraftKings points per minute. But also, I think just sort of getting healthier as the series goes on. He's playing really big minutes. His price tags come down. So, you had all of these points. And at the time, it was kind of just like comparing him to Jokic at the position and then comparing him to Tatum, Booker, Durant in the price range. But you were like, there's nothing really preventing me from getting to Embiid if I want to over those guys. Robert Williams makes it like actively difficult to get to him now, but that ceiling is still there. That didn't change at all.
So coming out of my Sims, Nikola Jokic's median fantasy score when he's in the optimal, 75 DK points. His 25th percentile, I have it a little over 70. Looking like you're going to need 70 from Jokic at this point now. Similar story for Embiid, 65 median, 60 25th percentile. So you probably need about 10 more fantasy points for Jokic than Embiid. Makes sense. $1,900 price difference.
Also,
is
Jokic,
there, but
we have Jokic projected 10 points higher than Embiid.
Perfect. Lines up really well there.
Yeah. Based on what you just said, you basically, like, your 25th percentiles were like 4 points above projection for these guys.
There we go. I got to hit on it now. We got another monster super chat from John. Said, thank you guys for the great content. Took home third in the 100K NBA slate the other night. 20K for the win. Glad to be here. Cranking out winner after winner, folks. I love to see it, man. A couple guys with around 20K to their name after the past. Like, this is good to see. Love it. Congrats, guys. You guys should buy each other beers. All right. What else can we talk here about Philly? How much do you like Tobias Harris? Because he has been my number one guy today. I'm curious how you see it.
Yeah, he was, at least coming into this show, from this game. Like, yeah, if I played 150 lineups coming into this show, Harris would have been my third highest owned guy behind Landale and Durant. Okay. Just favorable positional eligibility. He's 5,600. We saw fewer minutes last game, but he also dealt with some foul trouble in the third quarter. You mentioned McDaniel's out of the rotation. House may or may not be taking those minutes, but barring foul trouble, if he avoids foul trouble, I expect 36 plus minutes from Harris with the chance that he gets 39, 40.
Same. Thoughts on DeAnthony Melton, who earlier today was like a pretty interesting-ish mid-tier value play with a really nice MPE. And now that we have all of this additional salary from Robert Williams, Landale, Biyombo, Shamet, the rest of the Phoenix guys, how do you want to approach someone like DeAnthony Melton, who can play more minutes if things are going well and has great positionality?
Yeah, the thing with Melton is that he doesn't do a lot that is useful for fantasy when this team is healthy. And I also don't really think the minutes are that much of an issue. Played 23 last game. Granted, that included like a minute or two of garbage time, but typically, and he benefited from Harris's foul trouble. So he didn't play a ton in the first half, but you're typically seeing, 22 to 24 minutes from him. It's just a matter of, does he run into a bunch of defensive stats and rebounds or not? So the price tag has come down a little bit. Like, I think he's still playable in the sense that the minutes are there and good things can happen, sort of the way that like most of the cheap Suns guys are playable. They're going to be on the floor. What they do, who knows? You don't expect much out of them. He's still playable in that sense, but he obviously becomes less valuable now because you have legitimate good value at the center spots. I think where he becomes most useful is probably if you do go for one of the Jokic or Embiid builds. Then you can say, all right, well, what if DeAnthony Melton plays, has the game he had a few games ago where he ran, like, obviously he overperformed. You're not expecting it to happen again, but the opportunity, it can still happen. He's going to be on the floor for 24 minutes. And it's like, all right, well, if he keeps up with Robert Williams and I'm getting Joel Embiid instead of Robert Williams, because you'll still be able to probably play like Embiid plus Tatum or Embiid plus Durant. It can pretty quickly turn into like, all right, well, if Melton keeps up with Williams, then I get Embiid versus Tatum. And that's not a bad place to be.
No, not at all. Any PJ Tucker thoughts? 11% owned on our last run. Probably not changing all that much. Huh?
I assume that comes down.
Does it?
I
think he's like 10%.
Yeah, power forward's nice, I guess. But no real PJ Tucker thoughts. The minutes will be there. Nothing else probably will be.
Niang, House. Do you anticipate any of that? I don't see it.
I don't really see it. I got to a good amount of Niang the other day, but obviously that was a bit different slate. In the stuff I ran before the show, I don't think he was showing up, and he's even less likely to show up now.
Yeah, we're on the same page there. I don't have anything else really to touch on here for Philly. I guess we could do like a quick comparison between these two teams. Jaylen Brown is 7,900, Harden a little bit more expensive at 8,700. Do you have a lean as to who you would be getting more between those two guys?
Between Harris and who?
Between Harden and Brown. Sort of like the secondary pieces from this game.
Probably more Harden.
Okay. And then Embiid and Tatum. Embiid and Tatum. Is that just going to naturally be Tatum?
Yeah, I think it's just naturally Tatum because of the position.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so in the stuff that I had run before the show, which obviously is changing a bit, but so you said Harden versus Brown. I had like 29% Harden and 25% Brown.
Okay, so it's tight.
Yeah, and then I had about 37% Tatum and 21% Embiid. And obviously with the news that broke, it becomes more difficult to get to Embiid. That doesn't necessarily mean that I now think Embiid's a worse tournament play. I'm actually curious to see how that ends up shaking out for me, but certainly makes it more difficult to get to.
Oh, I'm fascinated to see what happens now with Jokic, Embiid, and the rest of the centers. Like, do I get more Jokic, or is he just a 0 and I'm praying that he doesn't go for 70 tonight?
Right.
Oh, man. And like, we obviously have this giant elephant in the room of what happens to Nikola Jokic if Jamal Murray doesn't play tonight. How different does he look?
Yeah, that too.
That a thing.
That ends up changing things too, though, because now you're like countering the Robert Williams projection increase by opening up Bruce Brown value and, you know, more like
Reggie
better
Jackson or whoever the hell that becomes.
Right. But even if like, because it doesn't have to open up like a great cheap guard, but if it doesn't, then it's making Bruce Brown look really good. It's making Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon look better. And you're getting to where it's just like, oh, okay, well, I can just go mid-range at forward and still get to Jokic.
This is going to be one of those slates where like you're either going to take a beating or you have a real clean path to the top, because like there are so many branch points and delineations where there's not going to be as much overlap as it seems. Whew, I like it. I like it a lot. Anything else for Philly?
Nope.
All right, we got to talk about the sponsor of this show. That is Underdog. We're up over 160 likes. Underdog let us know earlier that anything less than 200 isn't going to get it done. So let's hit that thumbs up. We got to talk about Underdog. I want to start with the promotion that they are running tonight. Absolute, utter disrespect. Have you seen this promotion?
What?
Have you seen the promotion on Underdog for tonight's Sixers-Celtics game?
You talking about Embiid?
Yes. Anytime that Joel Embiid falls to the floor, Underdog is going to give away $1,000 to a random entrant who quote tweets their tweet with their Underdog username. So Jordan's going to pull that tweet up, but make sure you're following Underdog. You can see it on the screen right now. Follow them and quote tweet with your username. You can get $1,000. Embiid falls a lot, guys. They're going to be giving out a couple $1,000 at a minimum today, or at least so it would seem. So make sure you're checking it all out. And you should be playing. You should be doing things at Underdog. You should try to get as much money on Underdog as you can. You can get it up to $100 by signing up with the promo code Stochastic using the link in the description. So put in 100, get 100. You got to be 18 or over, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska. But whether that's you trying to hit best ball drafts, which I know Adam is deep into right now and will be for the rest of the summer, whether you're just trying to play daily contests, playoff contest, there's pick'em contest. They've got everything that you could possibly be looking for. They've got this 100% deposit match bonus going on. They've got this bonus right now for Joel Embiid falling onto the floor. If you're interested in best ball, this is the place to be. Massive best ball contest for this year in the NFL, and I assume for the NBA starting up next year as well. If you want to check out Underdog, this is the time for you to do it. Click the link in the description. Two things for you, independent of Underdog. One, did you see that JJ Redick interviewed for the Toronto Raptors job?
Yeah, I love it. I compared him to Mark Williams earlier, finding it really entertaining that like Mark Williams is always one where it's like, oh, how doesn't Mark Williams get another coaching job? He's great. And then you have Redick coming on ESPN being one of the only intelligent people talking sports on that site or on that channel. And he's getting a head coaching job. Meanwhile, Mark Jackson isn't voting Nikola Jokic in his top 5 for MVP.
That is where I was leading for the second question. Did you see Mark Jackson's stupid ass MVP ballot?
Yes, I did.
That's super embarrassing.
I mean, it's not defensible.
No, it's not. It's not. Like, I don't care if it's 2. It's not 6+.
Right. You could even say 3. Like,
yeah.
Obviously, I don't agree. But like I said, this I was talking about it with somebody on Twitter. If you put Embiid ahead of Jokic, I disagree with you. I think you're wrong, but it's defensible. If Giannis had won MVP, I would disagree, and I would think it was defensible. So like that means that you could say Embiid 1, Giannis 2, Jokic 3. Like I think you're wrong twice, but still. Yeah. But once you get to Tatum and Donovan Mitchell and SGA, like not to take away from those guys, but absolute joke.
Mind-blowing to me. Absolutely mind-blowing. I'm anxious to see what JJ ends up doing. I would have is he going to try? I would have assumed that he tried to get himself on a staff first, but
yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm not surprised. That's for sure.
I feel like he'd be really good because I think the way I always view like coaching hires, because you get like one, I prefer, like younger people because generally they're more open to like, emerging strategies. But then a lot of times when you go that route, you get into like, well, you haven't played professionally, but like you're really smart and you understand the game, blah, blah, blah. And then a lot of guys that have played professionally, they get stuck up on, well, this worked for me, or this is how we did it, or whatever. So hearing like how like up to date on everything Redick is and how sharp he is just talking about basketball, like he's young, he played, and he clearly gets it. Like I think he'd be really good.
I think he'd be really good about filling out a staff of people to fill in his like blind spots too.
Yeah, I'll say he also just strikes me as like very aware.
Yeah. Well, like he doesn't. I don't get the sense that he would have the ego to be like, this guy's gonna like run the defense,
right,
and just like move forward. Then again, like I would have thought Steve Nash was an awesome coach, and that didn't appear to be the case.
So. Yeah, that's true.
Interesting scenario for Nash, but I'm really curious to see where if and when Redick ends up doing something. I'm certainly down to see it. Celtics will start Smart, Brown, Tatum, Horford, Robert Williams. AD probable for tomorrow. Super chat from Jeremiah. Is fading Shamet with KCP a horrible play? No, not at all. I think KCP is probably a better play, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you can afford KCP, I think he's probably the preferred option.
Yeah. Well, we got to get to Denver to start. Kind of hard and kind of easy at the same time. They don't really do anything different. But if Jamal Murray doesn't play, it's very, very different. At 8,200, I am more than happy playing Jamal Murray. I think he looks like a really nice play. I don't have really much to say about Murray if he is in. Are you worried about him because of his illness?
Yeah, a little bit, because it was a midday downgrade. Like, unless we get word otherwise, I'm going into the slate expecting him to play because it's a playoff game, and that's how I'm going to approach it. I also was fully expecting DeAndre Ayton to play today. And the fact that it was a midday downgrade and an illness, like this isn't, I woke up with my ankle sore, I need to go warm up and play through it. Like if you're sick, you're sick. Sometimes there's only so much you can do. So who knows? For now, I'm assuming he plays, and then you can get into how you quantify him being sick, which I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, I'm letting it rip like normal. I hope that he's in. I don't want to late swap this crap when we get to it. It would have been so much easier if Chris Paul was still healthy, and it's just like, okay, well, I'll just turn all the Murray into Chris Paul. They're close enough in salary.
Yeah.
Nope. No dice on that one. How do we manage Jokic? I know like we've talked around him a little bit, but he is on a completely different planet than Joel Embiid, which is so crazy to think that they are separated by $1,900 right now.
And like warranted.
I don't think it's crazy at all. He was pulling 30% ownership in our last run. I thought that was even like a little surprising. I felt like he was kind of difficult to get to. Now he's easier in a way, but you're just sort of picking the cheap center and hoping that you're going with it at that point. What do you do, and what do we do with Nikola Jokic?
So we got our ownership and Boom Bust tool updated.
Oh, nice.
It did not clear anything up for me, like how I think I'm going to end up approaching the center position. It still looks so interesting. Like, so we still have 29% ownership coming into Jokic. We still have 37 coming into Embiid, 34 coming to Williams. Biyombo got knocked down to 12%, which, we'll talk about that. That actually becomes really interesting. Landale, 56%. So we have it projected to still be pretty flat, where like, which makes sense. If like you can at least articulate why the field could approach it that way. That people want to play Jokic, people want to play Embiid. They both project really, really well. And so there is the chance that, like with the way things are looking right now, Robert Williams is projected to go way on their own. Yeah. Biyombo is projected to go way on their own. Landale's projected to be over owned, but still very, very good. And so if it goes that, like if that ownership holds, I think I'm more inclined to be going the route that I just said before I thought the field would go, where they jam in the cheap guys and pay up elsewhere. But when it comes to Jokic, he's still projected to go under owned, even with relatively high ownership. We have 29% coming in, 35% chance of being optimal. It's just so easy for him to put up a game that you have to have regardless of his salary.
It's so scary. Like, I don't know how to manage all of this. I'm running my stuff right now, so I'll get a better idea of where I actually stand here. I was very, very light on Jokic earlier today, and I did not expect him to be the guy that I was getting to. I was getting to a heavier amount of Embiid. Now I think all bets are off.
I was getting 30 Jokic, 21 Embiid. the way things look right now, with Embiid's ownership basically being in line with his chances of being optimal, and it basically just telling me like, look, you can get a little bit of an edge if you find the money to get up to Jokic. You can get an edge if you double punt center. Basically, the one spot where there isn't an edge right now is going to Embiid. And again, I don't mean that as a negative towards Embiid. It's just right now we have his ownership very efficient relative to his chances of success, whereas Jokic at the top is going on their own, and a couple of the value guys are going on their own. If that ownership holds, it's very likely that Embiid's the one that gets squeezed for me, and I get a good amount of Jokic, I get a good amount of Williams, Biyombo, Landale. So really interested to see, where things end up here, but that's kind of how it's looking right now. It's also different. This is a spot where I think we definitely do need to differentiate between DraftKings and FanDuel. It's the same problem on FanDuel, just more exaggerated, because Robert Williams is center only, Jock Landale is center only, and so Jokic there, 19% ownership, 20% chance of being optimal. Biyombo also center only. So there, you should have kind of flatter exposures to those center plays than you do on DraftKings. Because like DraftKings, in theory, you could just jam all three of the cheap centers, and then it's going to let you get more Booker, Durant, Murray, Tatum, Brown. And that would be, a perfectly fine approach. On FanDuel, I think it's more either, if you're going extreme, I think you probably jam Jokic and just hope that he, destroys the entire slate. But otherwise, I think it's a lot easier to just end up being balanced on FanDuel, where like Williams is projected to be a little bit under-owned. Landale's projected to be a bit over-owned. Maybe you flip-flop there, your exposure to those guys a little bit. Biyombo's projected to be under-owned, but like you still don't want to just be jamming in $3,600 Biyombo everywhere. Like that's a pretty high-risk approach. So I think it's a little bit different on FanDuel and than it is on DraftKings.
I just ran my crunch, got everything out. I have 5% Jokic.
How much Embiid?
24. 90 Time Lord, 60 Landale, 16 Biyombo. Over on Booker, over on Durant. Plenty of Tatum. Just what I wanted to do. Cheer against Nikola Jokic, or more importantly, not have the ability to get to him when Jamal Murray gets ruled out.
Right. Yeah, that one hurts. Damian Delval said, would you play Biyombo and Landale in the same lineup? I kind of touched on it briefly earlier, but I'm leaning towards no. Coming into today, I was perfectly fine with it. Robert Williams changes that equation quite a bit, just because where I have Landale, I would rather, if I'm double punting and I have Landale, I would just rather have Williams. And like if Jock Landale plays well, if you know ahead of time Jock Landale had a winning game, your projection on Bismack Biyombo would decrease because it becomes more likely that he played fewer minutes, and vice versa. If Biyombo put up a score that is in a winning tournament lineup, it becomes more likely that Landale got in foul trouble, played poorly, whatever, played fewer minutes than his projection. With the relative lack of value earlier, I was more willing to go to them since they are both still underpriced from their median projection. Now that you have Robert Williams there, it becomes more difficult because it's not like it's just those three guys either. Because then you get into like, it's not only do you need Landale and Biyombo to quote unquote exceed their very, very cheap salaries, when the opportunity cost at the position is also Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. If you have both of the Suns guys, you don't have Jokic or Embiid. And so you're probably not going to be thrilled if both guys just go for 22 DraftKings points or something.
I went, by the way, I have 2 of my 150 have Landale Biyombo. That works for me. And I'm not going to go back to the drawing board for it. I wouldn't want a ton more than that.
You said how much?
I have 2 of 150 with Landale Biyombo. I'm fine with that. Yeah, that's I'm fine with that.
Yeah, if that's what you're getting, I wouldn't set a rule against it. And that's, I guess that's the thing too, is, if you're playing one lineup, I definitely wouldn't do it together. If you're playing 20, I probably won't do it together. Earlier when I ran my optimal lineup, it had both of them. So that told me that you're getting the top projected lineups by doing this. Whereas now they may or may not be in the optimal together, but I know that I can just make Landale Williams and I'm sacrificing a point, but getting a much higher ceiling.
Yep. All right, let's talk about the rest of Denver here. Gordon, KCP, Porter, Bruce Brown. I mean, those are the guys that we're going to get to. They're all basically 20-ish% owned. Do you have a guy that stands out most to you from the rest of Denver?
if he plays $8,200 Murray,
yeah.
If he doesn't, then Bruce Brown at 4,800, but also everybody else. Really though, they're mostly just the same across the board. Like when you look at optimal percentages right now on DraftKings, we have Murray coming in at 30%. We have Michael Porter Jr. coming in at 23%, and all five of Murray, Gordon, Porter, Brown, and KCP are in that 23 to 30% range.
This is a ridiculous slate now.
I really hope Murray plays.
Me too. It's a real pain in the dick if he doesn't.
Also,
like, it's probably better for me if he doesn't, but I'd rather him just play.
Right.
I also have 49% Jamal Murray, which I don't like. I mean, like I do, but I don't, which is awful. Can you justify any Jeff Green or Christian Brown today?
It becomes more difficult by the minute, it seems like. The minutes are there for them, but the minutes are, 12 to 18 basically, and neither one's a good point per minute guy. One nice thing about Jeff Green is that he has power forward eligibility, and this goes for Christian Brown too, shooting guard, small forward. So like if you're going the center pay up route, they could become useful just because of their positions, but I would not like to go that route. Christian Brown was in a winning 100K winner on DraftKings, I think 2 slates ago with 8 fantasy points. This is not a slate where you're likely to get there with an 8 to 12 fantasy point game.
No, I was looking up at it.
Oh, yeah. That's probably why I noticed it, because I had seen yours.
Yeah. It was, I don't know, it was another 150 maxer. I don't remember who shipped it that day.
It was the perfect example of, we've talked about it a lot during these playoffs because cheap players typically aren't getting a lot of minutes because it's the postseason, but at the same time, your top projected guys are doing even better because they're playing, a million minutes. And so I've been pointing out how a lot of times on these cheap guys, you'll see an optimal percentage be really high and their boom percentage is 2%. And the Christian Brown thing was kind of just a reminder of you have to think in terms of entire lineups and not just, this player sucks or he's not going to do well, because for these cheap guys, doing well is relative to exactly how many points the guys at the top score. Because if 2 guys at the top score 80, you need whatever $3,100 guy did best. So there is still that chance that they are relevant plays, even though they suck. It just becomes less and less likely when you get better and better, 3,500 to 4K plays.
Trey says, if Murray plays, how effective will he be with missing shoot around? We have no idea. My one thing for this is that I don't care that he missed shoot around. To me, that's mostly irrelevant. It's Jamal Murray. His status is mostly irrelevant. If they're like, yo, you don't feel good, then the only thing that they want Jamal Murray to do is go hang out in his hotel room and get fluids and not go to a shoot around that is for the most part meaningless for him.
Right.
So I don't really read into that other than they're just telling him to be better for tonight.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's really tough to quantify injuries. I think it's even more difficult when you're talking illness. Because like you said, was he just throwing up during shoot around and they just have him hooked up to an IV and he's going to be good to go tonight? Right. Is he still throwing up right before the game? That would be a problem. Is he super fatigued? That would be a bigger problem. But obviously Denver's not just giving out that information.
Yeah. The moment you know that he's sick, just yo, you're not coming to shoot around today.
Right.
No matter how sick you are.
Right. And the other thing that you have to keep in mind too, not only is it essentially impossible to quantify how much less you should like Jamal Murray because he has some degree of illness, you also have to keep in mind that everybody's aware, everybody you're playing against is aware Jamal Murray is questionable. So there's some percentage of people that are saying, oh, well, I'm not playing Jamal Murray, or I am dropping Jamal Murray's projection, so I get a lot less of him. I don't know what the ownership number is going to be, but he's almost definitely going to be lower owned today than he would be if he weren't questionable right now.
Agreed. I have nothing else here for Denver. You got anything else?
Nope.
Okie doke. One last thing to talk about for today, guys. So hit that like button one last time. I just got it in my ear that Underdog actually wants you to get to 250 likes. So if you haven't done it yet, please hit that thumbs up. If you don't do that, you also are going to make mad BetMGM, who is looking to give you all sorts of potential site credits. Let's start with this one. If you sign up for BetMGM using the link in the description of this show, you will get 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum, so long as you make a deposit and your first bet is at least $10. And your first bet is covered up to $1,000 paid back in bet credits when you sign up. So you should do that. You should put in as much money as you possibly can afford and not feel bad about, and take a shot on BetMGM, because the worst case scenario is you lose that bet and you get it back in bet credits. If you win, you just move forward with that money in your bankroll. And you also have the free month of Stochastic Plus to help you out in your endeavors. This is as easy as it gets, folks. Please take advantage of this offer, because they're not going to exist forever. And if you haven't signed up at BetMGM yet, and you can, you're just leaving money on the table for yourself. Take advantage. Okay.
Solo DZ said, "Field's smarter than that. Questionable facts don't scare anyone." I mean,
it's wholesale untrue, but
right.
You hit him with whatever you want to say too.
I was going to say it's more true now than then. But there's no way you could argue that the number is zero of people that are going to at least marginally lower Murray's projection, whether it's because they don't know if he's going to play or because they are worried that he's sick.
Or they're a group of hand builders that are like, well, I can't pick Murray because you didn't go to shoot around and he's
right.
sick.
Exactly. Like, it's still going to be, it's 100% going to be lower than it otherwise would be. The margin is, varies, which was my entire point, that not only is projecting his performance very difficult knowing he's sick, but projecting how the field's going to react to it is also difficult, other than to say that his ownership projection is going to come in somewhere south of where it otherwise would.
Yeah. If we had him projected for 40% ownership and then the Q-Tag news comes out, the one thing I'll guarantee is that 40% as a projection is now wrong. It's something lower than that. I don't know what that is.
It might be 39, it might be 32, but
can't be 40.
Right. And it's the same thing with the projection. Like, if he was projected for 45 DraftKings points and you find out he's sick, there's no way you're ever, like, the projection isn't going up.
No.
It probably is coming down a bit, but, is it coming down to 44.6? Is it coming down to 43? Depends, on exactly what he's sick with and how close to the game.
All righty. So let's get to Phoenix. Let's close out this conversation. Oh boy. All right. Well, let's start with the starting lineup. It appears that Landry Shamet is starting for Phoenix, and we know that Jock Landale is starting for Phoenix with no DeAndre Ayton. Do you think that Landry Shamet is starting for Josh Okogie or Cam Payne?
Okogie.
Okay.
I hadn't even thought about Payne until right now, but almost positive.
I don't think it would be crazy if it was Payne.
I don't think it would be crazy, but we've seen Okogie losing minutes. He didn't start the second. They started Shamet over him in the second half last game. That's, to me, the big thing. Is I was kind of expecting Shamet to start in place of Okogie today anyway, even assuming Ayton was going to be in. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident it's for Okogie.
I said it in our Discord. There's nothing actionable here. I just have this feeling that they're going to make it Shamet and Craig for Okogie and Payne, and I got nothing to back that up for.
I mean, that would be fine, except we probably would have heard Craig was starting by now, right?
I don't know. I don't trust anything. Let's talk Booker and Durant. I don't have much to say here. They should be the two guys getting the highest minutes projection today. They're both fantastic. They both are 30+% usage guys. They're both relatively heavily owned, and I want to get a bunch of them.
Yeah, very, very difficult to distinguish between these guys. I said it a minute ago when we were talking about something else, but Booker's getting, all the hype in this series because he's just been such a good shot maker outside of last game, but he's still producing just about the same fantasy points per minute as Durant. They're both playing, 41 to 42 minutes on average. Fully expect it to be higher than that today. They both just look really, really good. I was getting to more Durant earlier. That could change. I don't necessarily expect it to. I was getting to about 60% Durant on DraftKings, about 35% Booker. I don't have a problem with that at all. Wouldn't be upset if it came in a little bit closer, but obviously just two very, very high upside guys that are capable of completely taking over a game.
Yeah, right now I've got 55 Durant, 45 Booker. That is more than okay with me. I've seen this a lot in chat. I shut it down before, but we need to talk about it. Shamet moving to the starting lineup, $3,800 shooting guard, certainly looks good. I don't think he's like anything special today. I don't even think I would call him anything even close to a priority.
I don't know that he even changes anything.
No, I don't. Look, I have 12% we're projecting 21. He came out of my model at 16. I gave him 26 minutes. Like, I guess he could play 30 today, but he's not good.
He did that like 2 games ago.
Yeah. I don't think it's all that interesting.
Right. Like the way I put it in chat earlier, somebody said, doesn't it make Shamet look better? I said, kind of, because you at least know now he is getting the first opportunity to screw up. But that's all it is.
It's like Murray, but the opposite. It doesn't make him look any worse.
Right. Yeah. Like he looks marginally better. He probably doesn't look better by as much as the field, as his ownership is going to suggest he does. So like last game, he started the second half. He immediately picked up like 3 fouls, went back to the bench, never came back until garbage time. And obviously it can be a different circumstance here. It doesn't have to be Landry Shamet just picks up 3 fouls in the first 5 minutes he's out there. But if Shamet starts this game, plays however many minutes in his first rotation, and then, TJ Warren comes in and gets hot, or Terrence Ross comes in and gets hot, or Okogie gets bench minutes and gets hot. Like, all the Suns are looking for here is somebody to knock down open threes when Kevin Durant or Devin Booker passes them the ball. Landry Shamet is the most likely guy to be able to do that. So it makes sense to me for him to get the first crack. It's why when he was coming off the bench, he was the guy that I felt the best about his minutes, because you're asking somebody to make threes, and he's the only one that's actually good at making threes out of these options. So you're going to lean him. But if any of those guys get hot and or Shamet doesn't, like, those minutes can just turn into somebody else. So do I like that he's getting the first crack at it? Sure. Does that make his minutes projection go up at least like a couple of minutes? It does. But it doesn't make him a different player.
No. Let's get the center conversation out of the way before we get into Warren and Ross and the rest of these idiots. 3,500 for Jock Landale, center only. Flat 3K for Bismack Biyombo. If you've got an idea of how many minutes they play, good for you. I certainly don't. They're just going to go with whatever's working. If Biyombo's having some good rotations, that dude's just picking up more minutes. I assume it's Landale. I gave him more minutes. He's projected for 56% ownership. I think that is about where he should be.
Yeah, he's going to look good. He is starting, so he's getting the first crack at the minutes. But this is another situation where we've seen it over and over again with the Suns when Ayton is out, normally in the opposite direction. They'll start Biyombo, and then Biyombo will get in foul trouble, and Landale will have a big game. And then the next game, everybody plays Landale because, they're like, oh, well, Landale's the preferred guy, even though he's coming off the bench. And then Biyombo doesn't get in foul trouble, and Biyombo plays 30 minutes to his 18 or something. So it's a really volatile situation where there's 40 plus minutes available for these guys. I don't know what the closing lineup is going to be. It may or may not involve one of them.
I would guess it's neither, unless Landale's just had a day, or vice versa. Or
Biyombo. I don't know. I could see it either way, because I don't think they really want Durant at the 5, but also it's an elimination game, and if it's working, they could certainly be in situations where it's like, all right, we just need more spacing. But
I projected 40 minutes for the two of them.
I think 40 to 42 is a good way to go. It wouldn't be shocking if it was 48, but also I don't think that's like a closing lineup where you have like Torrey Craig instead makes some sense.
Right.
So either way, these guys are so cheap though. Like, the point is kind of like, let's say we're calling it 40 minutes for them. If Landale just comes out, plays well, doesn't get in foul trouble, you can very easily get 3 8-minute stints from him, 2 8-minute stints from Biyombo, and you're talking 24 minutes for Landale, 16 for Biyombo. Wouldn't really want any part of Biyombo there on this particular slate, and you would want a good amount of Landale. If they play 48 minutes, you could easily get like a 28-20 where Landale plays 28 minutes and looks really good. But the flip side too is that if Landale comes out and gets in foul trouble, he's going up against the Nikola Jokic-led front court. That's certainly possible. They're going to be replacing those minutes with a good amount of Biyombo, at least early on, probably. Again, down the stretch, I think there's a decent chance you get like Torrey Craig in there. But if you get Landale picking up 2 fouls in the first 4 minutes, they could just immediately go small, but I assume they're just putting Biyombo in there and saying like, all right, let's see if this works out. So there's probably too big of a gap between Landale and Biyombo, but Landale at the same time is still clearly the one you're going to prefer.
Who do you prefer between Jock Landale and Time Lord? Don't look at ownership first.
I was going to say whichever is getting less ownership, which last I looked was Williams.
Yeah. But I mean, that's going to be like the decision point for a lot of people picking between those two guys. Do you have a choice between them? Is it Landale because he's more owned, like, technically? And then you're like making your pivot elsewhere, or
I mean,
do you see them as equals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're basically equal. So to me, the field's going to dictate it. I think they are both very good plays, but you're talking about two guys that are, solid point per minute guys. Obviously, you're not expecting the same 1.2 fantasy points per minute from Williams, in the postseason as you are during the regular season. So, just call them both, give or take a fantasy point per minute. The playing time for them is very volatile. Either of them could certainly get in foul trouble and lose minutes. I think you could probably argue that. Actually, I was going to say you could probably argue that the ceiling minutes for Robert Williams is higher than for Landale, but it's probably not. Williams could play 32, but if you got a 32-16 split where Landale just plays his ass off, that's possible, not probable, but possible. So I think they're just pretty similar in that we don't know exactly how the minutes are going to look. I'm sure both of their respective teams would love for them to play 28 minutes and play well, but also if they don't play well, their teams aren't really in positions to just let it go.
Warren owned about 20%, Ross about 20%, Okogie, Craig not really getting much love. Do you have a preference in this group? How do you feel about Warren versus Ross? Do you want to go to those other guys? Because I'm not getting Terrence Ross.
Yeah, I don't have too much of a preference. Ross did play 20 minutes to Warren's 15 last game. I'm more inclined to lean Warren first. I don't really have a great reason for it, but
probably because Terrence Ross is proper shit.
I mean, what's TJ Warren?
He was proper decent once.
Right, yeah. I was going to say, TJ Warren at least had the TJ Warren bubble experience. Terrence Ross has not.
No.
But yeah, I mean, they're very similar plays to me. I do give a slight edge to Warren, especially if he's going to get a little bit less ownership.
Yeah. 23% for Terrence Ross feels high for this slate at this point now. Where's that all? I mean, I guess that's where all this value is. What that value is creating the Jokic ownership.
Right. So that's the thing where, again, this could change between now and lock, and I haven't built lineups, so maybe this isn't going to turn out the way that I expect. With the amount of ownership coming into these shitty wings that I do not really want to play, and the relative lack of ownership coming into these centers that I do want to play, I think it's very likely that if everything holds the way it is now, my approach would be the approach that I was saying earlier I thought the field would take, where I just kind of punt center, hope that Jokic and Embiid don't beat the shit out of Booker, Durant, Tatum, and I get a lot of Booker, Durant, Tatum.
I think that's where I'm at. I think the reason that I'm not getting TJ Warren and Terrence Ross is because I'm not getting Jokic. So I don't need that salary. I've already saved it with Landale and Robert Williams.
Right.
So I don't need to go to the guys that I already don't think are that good because they're not necessary any longer. I've locked in my value.
Are you taking any shots on Torrey Craig?
I mean, in my mind, I should. I don't have it now.
He's 100% to me the guy that I'm not going to play because I have no idea how to get to him. I have no idea what to do to his projection to make him actually show up in my lineups. But at the end of the slate, when somebody wins 100K with a 1% owned guy, the answer is Torrey Craig.
The path for Craig is that they take everything that they used to have for Josh Okogie for the past 3 games and give that to Craig. And
plus some of the center minutes.
Yeah, plus some of the vacated Ayton.
Right. Yeah, minutes. The way they get there is that, we said 40 to 42 minutes for Biyombo Lando. That, let's say that turns into 36. Yeah. That is probably straight Torrey Craig minutes.
I think so, yeah. Well, we made it through. It's NBA Live before lock time. Anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
Nope.
Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you to Underdog for being the sponsor. Thanks for getting us up over 300 likes. Fantastic crew. You guys were nervous that Underdog and BetMGM were going to be mad at you. They're not. Live before lock coming up next. Enjoy this slate, folks. Good luck.
Yo, it's that time of week again. Time to induct some of you fine people into the Stochastic Hall of Fame. Give away a whole lot of free memberships. $120 value, by the way. Stochastic Plus Platinum. All you got to do to get your name up here in all its glory, get that free month, download the Stochastic Avatar at stochastic.com/avatar and use it wherever it is you play. Then when you win, finish top 3 even in a field of 5,000 or more. Tweet those wins to us at Stochastic HOF on Twitter. Get your free month. Get inducted. Let's get into it. For the new week, we kick it off with Mr. 586 or Mr. Woods 586. These are, I think I enjoy doing these the most because you're not playing, a lot of volume every day, maybe not the biggest bankroll, but you turn 35 cents into, what was it, $600 something here for Mr. Woods. 35 cents gets a free month out of doing that just because he's rocking the Stochastic avatar. Shout out to you, man. You got the subscription the entire month now off of 35 cents. First place out of 133,000. Just monstrous. And Alexis Sarah, another one. We had 2 of these this week. I'm telling you, these are feel-good stories right here. Just want to say thank you for the great show every day. Lafayette and Josh and Engleman always make me laugh in the morning show. Love to hear that. Finally got first. How about this? $2.72, $1,700 for Wink Chester, rocking the avatar, got the free month, up here Hall of Fame. So between the 2 of them, $3 into what? $2,400 off of $3. Massive ROI and the free month. Then Hollywood Chop coming in hot with at Stochastic Hall of Fame. First time using Stochastic. Yeah, not a bad day for your first time. Second place, single entry in the 4-point play. $7,500 for Hollywood Chop. Monster win there. And our best friend Jorge, always making it rain in chat with those free Stochastic memberships. We appreciate you for that. Finally, after being weeks on top 10 or 50, today got first place in the $1 mini-max. Thanks to Stochastic and as well for the team in today's show with valuable information. First place, $2,000. Little MLB action for Jorge. Congrats, dude. How about Rick Bunning? Second tweet, second Hall of Fame induction. Let's go. Thanks for the great tools at Stochastic. Kudos to Josh Engleman as well on the campaign fade third place, in the 30K jab step on DraftKings. And then you've got D Fick. Who knew Jokic, Harden, and Tatum could fit in the same lineup? Thanks, Lafayette and Josh. First place in the end one, $1,500. Another free month for our boy D Fick. And as always, you see it every week on an absolute heater, a huge tear. We're literally running promos because of this man right here, Steve Buzzard, the Colts. Another, ho-hum $100,000 win here in MLB. Keep it going, Steve. Massive heater, biggest I can remember seeing for sure. And our own Eddie Lai as well. How about it? Our CFO, then the CTO, $50,000 in MLB from Eddie. Just some flex emojis there coming from Eddie on Twitter. And Alex Baker, Awesome-O himself. Big week for these boys. It's not about how much money you win for first place. It's about the friends you make along the way. First place chop for Awesome-O himself, $11,000 there. A little NASCAR action, taking that one down. And we'll close it out with a little betting one because the Odd Shopper tools, be it the Parlay Builder or Odd Shopper Premium, have just been crushing lately. Fun night, Odd Shopper Hall of Fame. Hello, my friend. We'll throw it in this one. Why not? Because News God is our guy, El Negro Loco. You know him from chat. 4 big parlay hits on small wagers, making a massive ROI and closing out our Hall of Fame for this week. Remember, all you got to do, download the Stochastic avatar at stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF and get that free month. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Welcome to all of you, and welcome back to those of you who have been here before. We'll see you back for another edition next week in the Stochastic Hall of Fame.
There's one good booster today. That's that Jokic one's doable.
What is happening, everybody? It is time for another Stochastic NBA Live Before Lock. We've got 2 games, not just today, but tomorrow as well. I don't know what your rooting interest was last night, Eric, but for me, it was one of 2 things. I either wanted no teams to win or wanted both teams to win because I didn't want a 1-game slate. I wanted a 0-game slate or a 2-game slate. And we got that. So we have a 2-game slate today, a 2-game slate tomorrow. And if all goes well, we could have a Sunday full of Game 7. So as you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to Underdog, who is the sponsor of our show, who are doing a very interesting giveaway, Eric. Did you see the giveaway that Underdog is doing today via their tweet, what they sent out?
I did, because I ended up tweeting it out myself. I saw how low Adam was. Ship my money. He tweeted it out, getting the fall for $1,000. So I was like, you know what? I think I'll parlay that myself. And so fired it up with Chris Spags. I saw doing it. A lot of people in the community. It's a free roll for $1,000. Seems like fun.
Yeah. Well, Adam's trying to get his rent paid, which is, different. Either that Adam's either trying to get his rent paid, or he's trying to get, like, I don't know, 30 minutes at a strip club for himself.
1/20th of his strip club bill paid for.
Yeah, about that. Shorting him a little bit. But Underdog is doing a giveaway, and here's all you need to do. Sign up at Underdog, make a deposit, and use the promo code Stochastic, or just use the link that we have below in the description box. That is going to get you up to $100 bonus on your first deposit at Underdog. And then once you're on Underdog, you got some money in your account. Not only could you play there, you are also potentially eligible to win a pretty decent prize today. Eric, you had alluded to it before. If you guys go check out at Underdog Fantasy on Twitter, every time Joel Embiid falls on the floor today, they will give away $1,000 to a random entrant who quotes this tweet with their Underdog username and includes hashtag Underdog Fantasy. So actually, Jordan, do you have that tweet that you could throw up? Okay, cool. So if you guys follow these steps, but you do have to have an Underdog account. So take advantage of this, because number one, you're going to get up to the $100 bonus on your first deposit, but you also have the possibility to win $1,000 for every time Joel Embiid hits the floor. If you guys have ever seen Joel Embiid play basketball, he hits the floor fairly frequently. So I'm actually kind of curious. In the chat, everybody, let me know. Just type in how many times you think Joel Embiid is going to hit the floor today. I want to know. Eric, what is your best guess?
I'll set the line at 6.5.
Over. That criminally low line.
Criminally low. I've never sat around and thought about what Joel Embiid falling. Like, he does do it quite a bit, but like, does he do it twice a quarter?
He is as stable on his legs as a newborn baby deer. He is hitting
the ground like a giraffe out there, yeah.
Constantly. I'm telling you, he might put Underdog out of business with the amount of time he's going to fall on the floor today. I've never counted it either, but imagine it's like, it does seem to be like every third possession he hits the floor. Imagine there's a scenario where he falls like 60 times today, and Underdog just giving away like 60 grand. I'm telling you, this dude hits the ground a lot. I'm curious to see what some people are going to say in chat. The high end right here, David Porter, I see, has guessed 56. Vic David Figueroa has guessed 5. That's where most people seem to be, in like the 5 to 10 range. But there are some people who are being a little more aggressive that come out and are putting up big numbers. See Greg R saying 37.
Oh my God. You guys are so you said criminally low line. I mean, do you think he falls twice per quarter?
I think he falls on average more than twice per quarter.
So that's what I'm saying. What would you set the line at?
10.5.
Okay. So it's not criminally low. I at least had the thought process of like, hey, I'll go just short of 2 times per quarter.
But by the way, I absolutely have no fucking clue. I'm just throwing numbers out there. We have no clue. But it's
being
fun.
Mean to me. It's fine.
It is a fun way to potentially make some money over at Underdog Fantasy by doing pretty minimal. You just have to guess a number, throw it out there. Well, actually, you don't even have to guess. You just have to quote tweet this. Include your username. Use the hashtag Underdog Fantasy. So go check them out on Twitter. And while you're there, follow myself and Eric at Twitter, at Ehrenberg DFS, at Eric Lindquist. And yeah, let's try to make some money off of Underdog with this today. And don't forget, you sign up. We got the link below in the description box, up to $100 bonus on your first deposit. By the way, shout out to Hannah Banana, because Hannah has gifted out 5 Stochastic DFS YouTube memberships to people in the chat. So Hannah, thank you for the support. We do appreciate it. And 5 people have just been blessed with YouTube memberships. And then we've got a super chat here that apparently Josh was incapable of answering. Incapable.
Oh. So who's the diva now? Who's the diva now?
Yeah, it's like a typical Eric thing. Josh was like, yeah, I'm not answering this question. But the super chat we got here is from KS. KS wants to know favorite Underdog fantasy pick and payout booster.
So looking at the payout boosters today, for those who don't know, you basically jump it up a tier where you add 2 when you go for a 2-player flex play. When you go to the 6, it goes from 6x to 10x for 3. It goes from 10x to 15x for 4, and it goes from 20x to 25x for 5. Now, underneath those payout structures, my favorite booster is Nikola Jokic, 53.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, and being higher on it, which sounds absolutely asinine, but it's already kind of a fair line. You're getting the booster, one, and then number two, you have an opportunity where I don't know what the chances of Jamal Murray not playing. We have to make some rational decision making in the next 50 minutes, because once those lineups lock you for the first game, it's really hard to get yourself out of Jamal Murray because of where that price point is. So I'm just saying, Nikola Jokic, there is an opportunity for him to do everything for this Denver team. Not that he doesn't already. 53.5 seems crazy, but I like higher on that for the best payout booster.
All right, so there's a good one. I'm also looking at our projections where we just got the question too. What is our favorite fantasy pick of the day? And I'm going to go with Nikola Jokic over 9.5 assists. So here's what I think happens with Jamal Murray. By the way,
you can't play them both together though.
No, but I know he just has favorite fantasy pick, and I'm just throwing out what my favorite one is. So for me, the reason I'm just going to say in general, my favorite play is Nikola Jokic over 9.5 assists. We have him projected for 10.9 in our projections in our NBA Pick'em tool, which if you guys want to sign up for it, there's a link for that below as well. And when you sign up for the first time, you could get access for less than $5. But Nikola Jokic average more assists than I've pretty frequently been on over Nikola Jokic assists in the playoffs as is. So anybody who's watched these shows kind of know what I'm about to say, which is he's just averaged more assists per game in the regular season, what his prop lines have typically been. And now we're getting him extended minutes. The other thing, too, that ties into Jamal Murray, I think Jamal Murray plays today. I do not think Jamal Murray is going to be 100%. I think he gives it his best effort, but I think we're going to see a fairly compromised Jamal Murray on the court today. And I think that is going to lead to the ball in Nikola Jokic's hands even more than normal and more playmaking responsibilities, perhaps more usage as well. So Nikola Jokic, I like overs across the board with him because he's Nikola Jokic, number one. But then number two, also, I do think that we're going to see a compromised version of Jamal Murray out on the court today. Which leads me into the next thing I want to ask you, Eric. And we've got some more super chats we'll hit on as well. But since we're on Jamal Murray, what is your lean on what happens with him?
Exactly what you said. It's exactly what I put out there in Discord today. I'm pretty positive that he's going to play basketball, but I got to assume that it's a ding to him to a certain extent. I don't know how to kind of set the line on it. I've gone back and forth. The easiest way for me to do it is I took him down from around 40 minutes where I had him at to 36. I'm still getting him in lineups because he's 8,200 and he just falls in a price point where still want to get him at point guard, but it definitely has lessened the load from a DFS perspective, from like an underdog perspective today. It's so hard to know how it affects some of the other players. You could just take some blind hires, put them all together, and if the news breaks your way where he just doesn't play or is extremely compromised, you're in a very good spot to be, even on 16.5 points for Michael Porter Jr. Wouldn't be a good play unless he's out, or 27.75 fantasy points, I think is even a little bit better. Aaron Gordon, how does it affect there? Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. There's enough of these guys you can combine together in addition to Jokic where they're just going to have more usage. There have to be more shots if there's going to be less Jamal Murray on the floor. So you could do some blind correlation plays like that, but I'm just having a tough time talking myself into it. So far, haven't really touched anything with that game.
I have something I'm going to throw out to you. I want to hear what you think about this.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, I went to FanDuel. I built the same game parlay. Jamal Murray under 23.5 points. Jamal Murray under 2.5 threes. Jamal Murray under 4.5 rebounds. Jamal Murray under 6.5 assists. Plus 700 odds.
Oh my God. See,
does that make sense? Or is
yes.
That...
It's exactly what you did. Well, it's not exactly because Luka Doncic, it was just a different situation. We knew he was probably going to just play a quarter in that spot. And you guessed that one perfectly. And I was in the great state of Arizona. You did everything that needed to happen perfectly for that play. You're really sharp about these things. I kind of trust your intuition on it. You got to just hope that he's limited. And obviously it's voided if he doesn't play. So it's kind of a no-brainer to do it, right?
Yep. So I'm just going to place this right now, right? Because why not? All right, let's throw it in. Technically, it's actually plus 711 odds. So there we go. We're basically just betting on, is Jamal Murray going to be sick today? And is he going to be limited at all? It's not like a definitive yes, but I think the odds don't really, it's plus 711. So it was a $100 bet to win $711. At the very least, I don't think that the odds are indicative of the chance of
Correct.
him being limited.
Yeah, you're getting 7-1 on him possibly only playing 24 minutes. And we just saw, you could use the exact example. Look at what happened to Kevon Looney. He went from playing a bajillion minutes, and I know that it then changed up this entire Golden State rotation after the fact, but he was not starting, got limited in game 2, didn't play nearly as much as people were projecting, even after he was moved to the bench role. Like he played 12 minutes or something in that spot? I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it's that kind of situation. Those are numbers that are too high and too close to him playing an exact workload at nearly 100%.
Yeah, this is the Jamal Murray shits his pants parlay, right? It's you just go out, like he plays a couple minutes. By the way, your allergies are really bothering you.
They're really bad. No, so my dog, I have to close the door in here. I'm allergic to him, of course I am, but got to close the door. My wife just left here, and he would otherwise go bark and go freak out, and so he's in here, and it's he's just killing me right now. It's okay, I'll be fine.
Are you allergic to your dog, or is it just you're allergic to love? You're just not used to people showing this much affection to you like Duke does.
Yeah, because you're in my life.
Yeah, exactly. But in reality, I think it's for the best of you.
Yeah, building a tolerance.
Yeah, you're allergic to love, and we got to slowly start to get you acclimated to people liking you and showing you affection, and then those tears will become smiles, because you do look like you're about to cry right now.
Oh, God, I'm just dying here right now. I'll be okay. All
right, you're going to make it through. Let's get to more of the super chats that we have here first. Well, these two are actually going to go together. Ace of Spade and Hannah Banana have each left us super chats asking for our favorite tiers plays. I have tiers lineups built out right here, so I'm going to pull these up, and I am going to tell you guys who it is that I like in each tier. Now, it would have been helpful had I realized that my tabs closed right before I said that I had them all up on my computer. Do you have tiers lineups built out as well, Eric?
I do.
All right. So
I planned ahead of time.
There we go. Good man. So I am going to pull this tab back open here. Off the top of my head, I am going to say that tier 1 is going to be Nikola Jokic for me, but give me a second to pull this back up, and then I will know for sure. But yeah, so tier 1 is Nikola Jokic for me. I assume tier 1 is also Nikola Jokic for you.
Correct.
But here's another way that I think we could address this. If you are not playing Nikola Jokic in tier 1, who is the second best option to you? Because I think Jokic is pretty clearly number 1.
Kevin Durant.
Do you think, while we're talking about KD here, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, how realistic do you think it is these guys get the Jalen Brunson treatment and do not come off the court?
I have them projected for 45 minutes each.
I think that's number 1, totally fair. And then number 2, I think that the odds of them playing 45 plus minutes are more likely than playing lower than 45.
Correct.
I think they're going to play bonkers minutes, just like what we saw yesterday.
It could be something where it's like a last minute of a quarter scenario. But even then, like I tried to talk myself into situations, and the only thing I came up with was extreme foul trouble. Like Devin Booker, I still think plays through 3 fouls in the first half. Same thing for Kevin Durant. Like I don't think they leave the floor, barring having 4 fouls in the first half or 5 fouls towards the end of the third quarter. And those are extreme outlier type situations.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with same as you, Jokic and then Durant. You could also make a case for Booker there. I mean,
Tatum's on an island by himself.
Yeah, these are really strong options, though. Jokic, Booker, Durant, and Tatum. But Jokic, for me, I'm going to go Durant, too. Tier 2, it's just pretty clearly Joel Embiid.
Yep, easiest thing ever.
Tier 3, Tyrese Maxey for me.
Yep, Tyrese Maxey. And here's the thing. If you're looking to have some kind of late swap ability, or if you're going to build out an entire tiers lineup to say Jamal Murray isn't playing, or, as Greg said, could be severely limited, you could go to Michael Porter Jr. That would be the preferred option for the other pieces.
Tier 4, I have Marcus Smart in tier 4. I think Campaign is kind of a sneaky option today. I'm not exactly sure what the Suns starting lineup is going to look like. They've kind of hinted at what it's going to be. It looks Jock Landale starting in place of DeAndre, and we know that. There's also been reports that we are going to see Landry Shamet move into the starting lineup. I assume that's in place of Josh Okogie. I also thought there's a chance they might just go small and not even go with Landale at all and just throw Durant at center and just be like, hey, fuck it. Jokic is going to kill us anyway. Let's just play really fast and try to knock down a bunch of jump shots. But I am going to go with Marcus Smart in tier 4.
I'm going to go campaign. And I think the tiebreaker for me is like, if you said Jamal Murray at a 25% chance of missing this game, we know Bruce Brown is the nuts. Like, you want Bruce Brown. And they're within 2.5 fantasy points here at Stochastic right now. I would be playing campaign and I would be shifting everything to Bruce Brown if there was any kind of a chance that we thought Jamal Murray was going to be limited or not play.
Yeah, no, I think that does make sense with the Bruce Brown call there. It's still, for me, though, like, Bruce Brown doesn't belong on this tier with these other players. I wish Bruce Brown was in tier 5. If Bruce Brown was in tier 5, it would be easier for me to go there. But a tier 4, I'm going to stick with Marcus Smart. Tier 5, this is a close one for me between Jock Landale and Robert Williams. Now that we have Time Lord starting, I'm going to go with Landale, though.
Okay.
How about yourself?
I'm torn too. I think it would probably be Robert Williams. Just it's tough. There's not really. I wouldn't be looking to late swap into KCP, Landry Shamet, some of these other pieces from tier 5. Nothing's really all that appealing. It's very clearly those two, unless you get 7 threes from KCP. I'm going to lean Robert Williams. I'd be okay locking up that spot with him.
All right. Tier 6. I am going to go with Terrence Ross in tier 6.
Agreed. I think this is a great Terrence Ross spot now.
TJ Warren should be in tier 6, by the way, also, but he's not. So what can you do? But he would be, that would be really interesting if you had to choose between like Terrence Ross and TJ Warren there.
If you didn't have to play Terrence Ross, who would you play though? Because that's, I mean, it gets gross after him.
Boy. I guess I would just go Jeff Green, but the options, like you said, they're kind of dog shit.
Yep. Pretty awful. I didn't have another. I would probably be going to George Niang, but I mean, I don't want to.
No, George Niang, who played quite the game for George Niang last time out. Do you remember his stat line?
Yeah, 11-0. He had 0
minutes,
anything. Yeah,
11 minutes with a 4% usage and 0 fantasy points.
Yeah, I know he had a 0.
Yeah, not great. Not great. Next super chat we have here is from Brandon Wagner. Or as I said the other day, could be Wagner. Nobody knows for sure. Brandon Wagner, have Harden, Tatum, Durant, and only have 3,200 for shooting guard. Thoughts on playing Christian Brown if Murray is out, mostly for single entry DK? Yeah, if Jamal Murray doesn't play, then I think Christian Brown becomes viable.
I agree.
Let me see if there's... So he has 3,200 for the shooting guard spot. Yeah, Christian Brown's the only guy that's really a viable option there. The other guys that are 3,200 below shooting guard eligibility: Shake Milton, no. Korkmaz, no. Springer, no. Hauser, no. Pritchard, no. Damian Lee, no. So if you need 3,200 at the shooting guard spot, the only possible option you have there is Brown.
That's it.
But I wouldn't play him unless Murray is out.
Agreed. Or you assume this game was going to get like sideways. Phoenix is up 40 at halftime. Then he's probably all right. But even then, they probably skip over him and just go to everybody else.
So the one thing I think that at least would be nice is like Brown is typically in the rotation, right? So you're just getting to a point where now he would see added benefit. But I mean, still, it's a pretty thin play there. It has to be under the idea that Jamal Murray's either not playing or he's limited.
Yes.
Let's go into Discord and see what questions we have there. If you guys have questions for us in Discord, at me so we can answer them. First question that we have here is from, we'll have to go back a little bit here. All right, Miami High Life. Thoughts on the best way to build on single entry for DK? Lock Robert Williams and Jock Landa and lose the ability to grab Jokic or Embiid, or grab Jokic or Embiid and spend down elsewhere. So my preference for center is to play Robert Williams and Jock Landale if you're playing one lineup.
Correct.
And I would feel so. There was a part of me earlier that thought, boy, maybe Nikola Jokic will be a good contrarian play. But let me check our updated ownership. Like, people are still getting to a good amount of Jokic. And I just kind of think that the Jock Landale and Robert Williams combination, especially now that Robert Williams is starting, just has a little bit more upside. In fact, I mean, Nikola Jokic is projected to be more popular than Robert Williams today. So I would go with the Time Lord Landale combination.
It's so hard to get away from it today. And there are scenarios where Jokic goes for 65 where you're still okay based on that. It's such a weird, I can't remember a slate like this in the playoffs where we just had studs everywhere. Like we truly have studs everywhere along with insanely good value now. Like Robert Williams and Jock Landale are 3,600 and 3,500. And the opportunity cost of Jokic and Embiid, I mean, I'm just getting to more Durant and Booker now because of the positionality, and I'm just fine with it. I know that that's how the field works with it, but I keep looking over at our boom bust tool and looking at some of these optimal percentages. Robert Williams, nearly 50% optimal on this slate. Jock Landale, nearly 42% optimal. Robert Williams is underowned here at the moment. Jock Landale not pulling as much. I'm a little surprised by that, or that Jock Landale is pulling that much more than Robert Williams. But still, you just kind of play them both, surround them with studs, and then you hope Embiid and Jokic don't go completely nuts. I think that's by far the most optimal way to play this slate.
Yeah, and James Magruder left us a super chat. What's projected higher, punt centers for payups or play top centers and get value? It's playing the value centers. And the thing that also makes this a little easier for me is what I said before about Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Both of them might play 48 minutes today. That is within the realm of possibility. There's a scenario where Jokic goes out and scores 70, but Durant and Booker both score around 70 fantasy points as well. And then the Jokic points become less necessary because there's all this good value at center. So I have only 10% exposure to Jokic today. It's scary, but that's where I'm at him. I'm going with the cheap guys at center predominantly. For yourself on DraftKings, how much Jokic you're landing on, if any, right now? Are you going to be aggressively underweight as I am?
I have 9, so I'm almost identical. Yeah, we're this is not good. And Jokic, I have firmly, like, I can't tell you how many times I've bet his triple doubles this year. I can't tell you how many times I've been massively overweight to him, but he is so much more expensive than Embiid. I don't know if I can justify it.
And the other thing too, like I said, is we just have so much value at the center spot. And it's not like Jokic is the only pay up option we have today. We've got Booker, we've got Durant, we've got guys, you know, like Harden to get to at the guard positions as well. So I'm going to play the center spot, going for the value, spend up elsewhere. And Jokic is still projected to be really popular. Like I said, 31% ownership projected for Nikola Jokic. He is more popular than Robert Williams right now on DraftKings. And then if we look over at FanDuel, Jokic is still projected for 20% ownership on FanDuel, where he can only play one center. So it looks like Jokic is still going to be fairly popular today. Next question that we have in our Discord channel is coming from JEW. He wants to know, who are your must-haves in DK single entry if you are playing Landale and Time Lord at center? So who are the other guys we'd be getting to?
Yeah,
so
then you're just
me,
sorry. I thought that was the end of the sentence, and then I cut you off.
I was just going to give a quick answer to it, and then I'll let you fill it in as well.
Yeah, Durant is like the lock of that lineup. He's the easiest guy, small forward, power forward. You can shift him around for single entry. You're playing Landale, you're playing Williams. You're going to probably have Kevin Durant in that lineup. For me, also Tobias Harris is kind of a priority on this slate. I have him project. He's going to have a really good shooting game again at some point in time. I mean, last game he looked awesome. Didn't have to play as much. They ended up taking their foot off the gas. He only played 31 minutes, but assuming it's competitive again, I think those minutes get ramped up again. And I feel pretty good about having the small forward, power forward for him as well.
Do you have any issues with playing Kevin Durant and Devin Booker in the same lineup together?
No. They're two dudes who are going to play 46 minutes.
I'm on the same page as you.
Like, you should have no problem. If they were more expensive, if they were priced for the minutes allotment we were expecting for them tonight, that'd be one thing. But they're the only two guys doing anything on their basketball team. And we now have a multiple game sample size. And now there's no Ayton either, which means their rebounding rate, I ticked them up. Every book inflated them by another rebound across the entire industry. I saw in Chalkboard, you had 8.5 rebounds for Kevin Durant. It's 9.5 pretty much everywhere now, and it should be. Devin Booker was 4.5 earlier. I bet him at 4.5. He's 5.5 everywhere. He should be. Like, this is drastically different in terms of how you project them today without Ayton, without Paul, and in a must-win spot than any other time all season long.
Did you see the clip of Nikola Jokic just really frustrated during a timeout, and he's sitting on the bench and he's yelling, "There's only two of us. There's only two of them." He's yelling to the players on the bench, and it kind of echoes what we're saying right there. Who else is going to be taking shots for this team?
Campaign.
If you look at this team and it's like, all right, I've got like Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, both projected for close to 60 fantasy points. And then, everybody else is like mid to low 20s. Actually, I have mid 20s for Campaign and Jock Landale. Everybody else is well below 20. It's hard for me to reasonably say anybody's going to be taking shots other than Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. I think these guys are going to play next to the entire game. So in a regular season scenario where you're just expecting normal minutes for these guys, I wouldn't want to play a bunch of them together. I have no issues with it today. So anyway, to answer the question we got from JEW, I would say save money with Jock Landale and save money with Robert Williams, and then pay up for Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. They're my two most rostered spend up options today, and there's plenty of value to get to them.
The OMG father, LOL, Eric and Greg, you guys have given out 5 of my players in my single entry lineup. Spoiler alert. There we go. I can't talk. Those are legitimately going to be 5 players in just about everybody's single entry lineup.
Yeah, it's the other thing too. It's a 2-game slate. There's only so many guys to.
We're going to do roster Jordan Klein off the bench. That's the other option. Jordan Klein. Are you going to Phoenix? Are you gonna suit up, bro? Dude, bro, chill on the floor.
You can have Red Vines with you.
Oh man, Ish Wainwright, son. You and Ish.
What's your beef with Phoenix, Arizona, Jordan?
I Scottsdale's beautiful. How about Scottsdale? Is that bougie enough for you, Jordan Klein? Yeah, I bet you do. Right. The finer things in life, friend. If it's expensive and you're not paying for it, you love it, and you love Scottsdale.
Jordan Klein showing up to Scottsdale with 2 bags of Red Vines. Gonna have himself a night.
Just staying with my parents. No biggie.
Let's see. What else do we have for questions in Discord? The next one is coming to us from Sickmosh. He wants to know, is going to Landale and Williams okay in cash to get to Tatum and Durant? Yes, but I would say get to Booker and Durant before Tatum and Durant.
Correct.
In addition to Sickmosh, by the way, he's going for 16 straight slates that he's cashed in cash games.
What?
16 in a row. Seems good, does it not?
Seems better than most.
Sick Mosh in our YouTube channel is saying that he's won 15 in a row. 15 slates in a row he's won in cash games. He's going for 16 in a row today. If you guys want to be like Sick Mosh and you want to join Stochastic, get in the Discord channel, use all our projections like he's using, stop using the link below. You get up to 50% on your first deposit. Also, if you guys want to check out baseball, if you're playing basketball and you're a little upset about the season winding down, we've got baseball for you, and we have our MLB lineup generator available for the first time this season. What did we launch it 2 days ago? Was the initial launch of our packaging, and we have a link for that below as well. And we've already had some people having success with the lineup generator. This was for basketball, but still a big win from LX Foley. Tweeted us last night, said, huge win last night using the lineup generator. He ended up coming in second, 15 grand for him using the lineup generator. Lineup generator, we have it for basketball. We have it for baseball now. Sign up using the link that we have below, and you guys are going to get a discount on it when you sign up for the first time. Be like LX Foley. Take down a big tournament in the easiest way possible. There's a couple of different buttons you click in the lineup generator, and then it does the rest for you. You just tell it whether you want to build balanced, chalky, contrarian lineups, and then it's going to give you lineup. You could save ones you like, you could discard ones you don't like, and then right from there, you could upload them directly to FanDuel or DraftKings and be like LX Foley. Win some big money back. Next question that we have in Discord is coming from. Let's see where I'm getting mentions from Aton that are bringing down some of the questions from you guys. But here we go. Mr. Sledge Teo. Maxey or Tobias Harris? Let's see. Who do I have more of, Maxey or Harris? That for me is Tobias Harris.
I have more Tobias Harris too.
Tobias Harris was somebody last slate. I had a decent amount of him. I didn't even realize that as much as I had right before the slate locked, and I'm happy I did. He was really good. De Niro, do you think that Jaylen Brown is a good play considering his optimal percentage on FanDuel and the fact that the Celtics have to win? So I don't like the Boston guys quite as much as the
Phoenix
guys.
Mm-hmm.
And let me look at Jaylen Brown's current projected ownership because I don't remember it being that low. Yeah, Jaylen Brown is projected to be the second most rostered player on FanDuel. So I do think he's a really good play. I think he's a little overowned though.
I agree. On FanDuel, yes.
56% projected ownership on
FanDuel. It's a lot. It's a lot. On DK, I have a pretty decent size of him. But yeah, on FanDuel at 8K, he makes a lot of things work. And he's the most optimal player that we have in the boom bust tool. He's actually underowned, it looks like there. But it's still a hefty amount. And I could see, depending on what contest you're in, that actually being higher.
Yeah, I got to him. I mean, it's just rare this happens, but I'm looking at the lineups I built for FanDuel. I got to Jaylen Brown in 49% of my lineups, which puts me underweight to him.
Fantastic.
So is he a good play? Yes. I just think he's a little bit too popular. It's
like me with Gary Payton yesterday. I had like 52% when it came down to it, or 54%. And it's like still underweight, but who cares?
Yeah. It's a Mitten. Mitten was great last night.
Mitten was awesome. Just could have used fewer points when I was building out the old prize picks cards and the old underdog cards. So that was unfortunate. Had some pick 'em losses as a result of that, but we continue on, my friends. We continue on.
He's better than Jordan Poole. I've maintained that all postseason. We're going to get to a point in time where Gary Payton was going to pass Jordan Poole in the rotation.
Well, here's the thing. He got paid the bag by Portland. They knew what they were doing. Do you remember Gary Payton had an undisclosed injury when they did the deal, and it almost voided the trade, and Golden State said, screw it, we want this guy anyway. That was a pretty telltale sign when they waived the non-injury disclosure and the trade ended up going through to get Gary Payton back, that when he was healthy, he probably was going to come and matter playoff time.
Yeah, and the other thing too with Gary Payton is he had core surgery in the offseason, if I remember correctly, and the Trailblazers brought him back too quickly. It was Gary Payton didn't feel ready to play. The team doctors said, hey, you're ready to go. And it became this whole controversy in terms of like, did the team have his best interest at mind? And it led to people getting fired in Portland as well. So there was a little bit of a backstory there. Anyway, he's better than Jordan Poole. He's starting over him now.
Yes, he is.
Bossbro says, are you playing the cheap guys on FanDuel over Jokic? So he wants to know, we're doing it for DraftKings. Do we like the cheap guys over Jokic on FanDuel as well? And the answer is yes.
Yep. Best of luck to all of us. When Jokic goes for 90 today, yeah, I'm going to lose money.
Cleveland, 20. Well, that is unless Jock Landale and Robert Williams, one of them goes for like
I
50.
did bet is over 53.5 PRA. So it is what it is. Like, I think that there's news that can work out for that. I also ended up on the other side. Just one of those things where it's like, I didn't know Ayton was going to get ruled out, and then had the rebounds on the other side of it with Durant and with Booker. But, it is what it is. Everything's pretty fair now.
The next super chat that we have, well, actually we got a bunch of super chats. So we've got one more Discord question answer, and then we'll get to those super chats. The next question we have here is from Cleveland 27. DK, Torrey Craig thoughts. He'd be really contrarian. I'm not playing him, but I understand the logic.
I get it. I can't do it.
There's too many good value plays for me.
Yeah, that's the problem with this slate, is that if you're not getting your value from Landale and Robert Williams, you need 25 from somebody else. Good luck figuring out who the hell that is sub 4K. Who do you think is the next most likely player at 3,600 or below their price that could possibly go for what they're projected for?
And so outside of
Robert Williams, who we have projected for right around 22 over on DK. And if you're not going to go to Jock Landale, we have projected right around 22.5 on DK. Who do you think is the next most likely player, 3,600 or below, to go for what they're projected for, 22?
TJ Warren.
And what's he projected for?
15 or something.
Yeah, 14. So it is a chasm. And there's so many times where TJ Warren goes for 20 and you're fighting 35 from those guys or 30 from those guys. So it's a really wild slate as a result. And then, well, Jokic, the best spend up, just happens to be at that position, but he's expensive and it's hard to get there, and the positionality of it. So it's an incredible slate for those purposes, but it's a difficult one when you talk about other value.
And now let's answer some of your guys' super chats. We got some of those that were building up as we were answering the Discord questions. First from Melissa Harvey. Hey guys, showdown for Boston and Philly. Would you captain Time Lord in single entry? Yes, I would.
Absolutely.
Because he gives you the ability to spend up for whoever else you want. You put him in the captain spot, and let's see, what do we have? Like, I don't think he's going to be popular. I don't think he's going to be like the most popular captain, and he just gives you all the salary savings in the world. So those are my favorite builds for that showdown game.
Yeah, it's Tatum or Robert Williams. Those would be the two that I would want to get to the most for the showdown. I don't mind Joel Embiid, but I still think I prefer a little bit more Tatum just because Tatum could not leave the floor too.
The next super chat is from Corey Bomber. Corey wants to know Smart, Maxey, Michael Porter Jr., or Harden, Horford, and Shamet on DK. So on one side, just to read the names off again, you have Smart, Maxey, and Porter Jr. On the other side, Harden, Horford, and Shamet. I'm looking. Do you have a strong lean?
I heard you read that question twice, and my brain still was just like, let me hear it again.
All good.
Yeah, I'm finding. I just pulled it up here. Corey Bowman, Smart, Maxey, MPJ, Harden, Horford, Shamet. Let me put it in. I mean, Harden's kind of the forgotten guy on this slate, right? Like that just feels. It feels like it's sub 45. I'm just not getting to him all that much. I feel like I need to get more of him as it is. I like Horford for tournaments today. I think that he makes a lot of sense. 15% currently over on DK.
For me, it's going to be, I'm overweight to Harden just because there's so much value in the front court that I find it easy to get to Harden. So like in line,
but I'm just getting to so much Devin Booker. That's the thing. Yeah, I have like an eternal amount of him.
I don't have like 100% of Booker or Durant. So in a lot of lineups, I don't have one of those guys. Okay. I have Harden in a lot of those lineups.
That's fair. I'm going to go with the second one simply because I feel like, Smart, Maxey taking up, those are both point guard only, correct? Maxey, no, he's got shooting guard. And PJ, yeah, I like getting to the stud in the two sides of it. And Shamet, I don't think he benefits a ton, 3,800. We have him for 27 minutes right now. I think that's about fair. I think he's about appropriately owned. We kind of know what we're running into with him. It's like if Duncan Robinson gets out on the floor, you just need him to knock down shots to stay there. Landry Shamet, he better be knocking down shots. Otherwise, that's where I was talking about Terrence Ross, where he's 3,400. And I'm playing him in addition to some of those two center guys. Now, I don't have a ton of him, but now he's 24% in our last run. I don't know if I'm going to be getting to that much of him.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go Harden, Horford, Shamet, and I think Shamet starts today. We got some of those reports. I think he starts in place of Okogie. We shall see when that lineup officially comes out. Next super chat comes to us via Mex159. Best lineup for Denver Phoenix showdown. Pretty easy as I look through the lineups that I had made dummies of. You go Jock Landale, you go Bismack Biyombo, you play all of the studs.
Yep. I'm going to play that showdown specifically because of that build. Like, yep. I'll let everybody else try to chase that build. Enjoy.
Landale, Biyombo, studs, and then just fill it in with whoever else fits. And there you go. That's the lineup. Race Fan 22, Bruce Brown or Brogdon for DraftKings. Bruce Brown or Brogdon?
It's Brogdon right now. It could turn into Bruce Brown as the best play on the slate if there's no Jamal Murray. Just got to throw that caveat out there.
Let's see.
Like Bruce Brown would be the player that you would prioritize over anybody else if we got news in the next 14 minutes or something that Jamal Murray somehow wasn't playing. Like, again, I think it's very, very unlikely, but you can't talk about them being the equal things. So when you're asking a question on a show, it's like, yes, I 100% in the next 14 minutes, if we don't get that news, I strongly prefer Malcolm Brogdon, but you know that later on, there's a possibility that Bruce Brown could be the nuts.
I'm going to say Bruce Brown, just because there's also, like, we might find out that, because I'm not super high on Brogdon today. And I think this is such a tough one.
Point guard, small forward eligibility for DK too. For Bruce Brown.
If this is like a cash game type setting, Malcolm Brogdon, if you're willing to roll the dice a little bit, then Bruce Brown.
There should be no need for Malcolm Brogdon in cash today. Just to throw that out there too.
But just anything, like if he wants to be safe and he's more risk adverse.
Got it. Well, I was just saying because you have Cameron Payne at 4,700, and there's no way that you wouldn't play Cameron Payne straight up over Brogdon in cash. I got to imagine you can get Devin Booker and Kevin Durant in that lineup, and I got to imagine that other guard spot would be used up. Both center spots go into the cheapies. Yeah, so for cash, there would be no way. But for a tournament perspective, I'm actually going to talk into it. I'm going to go to the Bruce Brown side of it with you. Mainly, there's a lot of swappability with point guard, small forward, too.
Yeah, this just seems like he's one lineup spot available, though.
Well,
he's just like a 1v1 type thing.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm going to answer Brogdon. I've settled on Brogdon there. It's a tough one, though. It's a tough one. Brogdon, my answer, though. Noah, let's have the Bismack convo. Let's.
Yeah.
What are you doing with Bismack Biyombo?
I'm not
playing him and
right
Landale together. You playing them separately. You're not playing much of Biyombo. How are you going to handle him?
Maybe I'm an absolute fish, but something tells me he ends up being more popular than we have right now. I kind of want to just side with Landale. What do you think happens? Like if Bismack Biyombo goes out there and just gets smoked by Jokic in his first rotation, what does their small ball lineup look like? Because you can't have Durant on Jokic.
That's what they'll do. I think they'll just play.
You think
play
they
really
will?
Small.
I've been trying to figure out what that lineup looks like for the last, 2 hours, thinking through it. Like, there's a very real chance to me where, like, Bismack Biyombo plays, like, 8 minutes.
The closing lineup for the Phoenix Suns, especially if they're trailing, and if Jokic is having a big game, here's the reality of Nikola Jokic, because people are going to say, oh, Kevin Durant can't guard Nikola Jokic. Yeah, you know who else can't? Jock Landale or Bismack Biyombo. So you might as well get as much offense on the court as possible. It's going to be dependent on game flow, but I think that they are ultimately going to end up playing more small ball in this game. I think Jock Landale definitely is going to have more opportunity than Bismack Biyombo, but I think if Landale and Biyombo struggle, they just go small. I don't think they have to play either of them. I'm a lot
people in
higher
chat saying Torrey Craig. My argument for that is that you would have played Torrey Craig in a number of these spots instead of Landale when you were trailing, and they haven't done it the whole series.
Yeah, I don't think it's likely. It's possible, though. I do think it's possible. But if a lot of these situations I've said before, what I would do is I'm just like, what would I do if I was in the situation of this team? How would I handle it? And you throw Landale out there. You see how he does against Jokic. If he does okay, he's going to stay out there. If he struggles, they'll try out Biyombo. If neither of them are going well, they're just going to say, fuck it. We're putting offense on the court. Jokic is going to score. We can't stop him. Let's shoot some threes.
Shamet, Terrence Ross, TJ Warren. Like those are those for me, it just feels like I want to just be on those guys more and not dilute my ownership in 100 lineups to getting to Torrey Craig, to getting to Bismack Biyombo. Currently, I don't have either of them.
We have an interesting question in Discord from Iron Maiden 2. He says, do you think Brogdon is ahead of White? I do. I think Malcolm Brogdon checks into the game before Derek White does.
I do too. I think Derek White is very, very live to play less than 15 minutes today.
It's possible. We could see him not like phased out entirely, but I do expect Brogdon to play more minutes than Derek White. Brogdon's better than Derek White. Does anybody think otherwise?
No, but I will say in terms of efficiency over the course of the season, like all of the top 10 lineups in terms of efficiency for the Boston Celtics had Derek White in them. It's just wild because it's definitely been the opposite come the playoffs.
The other thing too is he plays with the starters more. So there's just more opportunity to play with some better players. You know, you got Malcolm Brogdon playing with the likes of, like Sam Hauser off the bench and
Cornette.
Yeah, Luke Cornette at times. Trying to remember who else were some of the total randos that the Celtics were playing in the regular season. But either it just makes sense that Derek White would have, more advantageous plus minus to be some of those better situations. Because yeah, he's playing with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and then it's like, here comes Malcolm Brogdon, like you said, Luke Cornett, Sam Hauser, Rebels is coming off the bench. So from that standpoint, yeah, he's just going to be more effective there. By the way, spreads of the game. Boston is a 2.5-point favorite despite being on the road. We've got Phoenix favored by 2 at home. Do both the favorites win today, or do we see one of the underdogs pull off a win?
I mean, I'm going Philly in the first game. I have no idea for Phoenix Denver. I have no clue. I've been on Philly. Anybody who's watched me do anything knows that I thought Philadelphia was the most undervalued team coming into the playoffs. And then, even with Embiid hurt, it was still just weird to me that they were drastically preferred, or that Boston was drastically preferred to advance to the finals over top of Philadelphia with unknowns. I get it, but I mean, it just is a team that's never really had it all together, whether it was coaching, whether it was just certain guys that think they're the dude, like a Marcus Smart come clutch time. Like it's a little bit interesting to me that everybody was in love with Boston, but I'm not even saying that in hindsight. It's just what it is. I've been on Philly here. I'm going to continue it. But Denver, Phoenix, do you have any pull in that game? I have 0.
It's tough because there's so much. I'm going to say Phoenix because I don't think that Jamal Murray is totally healthy.
It's fair.
I'm going to lean towards it. It's very close. And both of them, you got a 2-point spread and a 2.5-point spread, both expected to be close. We've got a question in Discord from Be More Irish. Be More Irish has left us a question here. It seems directed at Jordan Klein, just his username that is. But then the question, Wi-Fi cut out on the plane. So he missed when we were talking about tiers before. He wants to know our favorite tiers options. Yeah, we could run through tiers again.
Yeah, you rehash it quick. I'm going to finish up my stuff here.
Yep, go ahead and do that while I pull up tiers. So for myself, and I remember your answers as well, so cool. I could read off what your answers were. So in tier 1, Eric and I both liked Nikola Jokic, and for both of us, Kevin Durant was our second favorite. In tier 2, we were both pretty adamant that Joel Embiid is the guy to go to in tier 2. Hard to get around that. Embiid tier 2, that's the guy. Tier 3, it was Tyrese Maxey for both of us. Tier 4, I went with Marcus Smart. Eric went with Campaign. Tier 5, we both like Jock Landale with Robert Williams not that far behind. Both of them pretty good options in tier 5. And tier 6, probably the second most clear-cut tier. We've got Jokic in tier 1 and Terrence Ross in tier 6. Those are the two guys that we felt really, really confident in. So could load up on both of them. Some more super chats coming in. This one is from RaceFan22. Melton or Shamet on DK. I am going to be rolling with Landry Shamet right there. So it's kind of tough. Like on a normal playoff slate, if you just found out Shamet was starting, you'd be like, oh, he's going to be chalky, but it's justified because it's hard to find salary savings. I do not have as much Shamet as I thought I was going to, but I do prefer him to DeAnthony Melton. So Landry Shamet for me. Eric, are you doing okay finishing up your lineup?
Yep, I got it done here. Okay. I had a deal that was popping Derek White, and I want 0 Derek White. So There's that. I'm 100% with you where I'm getting just over double Landry Shamet of what I am of Melton. Not that I'm just completely writing Melton off, but there is definitely a case to be made. Yeah, I'm just with you there. Melton makes sense. He's fine. He's also, or sorry, not Melton. DeAnthony Melton compared to Shamet. Correct. Yes.
Malcolm Revamp. This is a question for you, not for me.
Oh,
Eric,
interesting.
He's asked you specifically. Eric,
okay.
Which stud should I lock for FanDuel, GPP, and cash?
Jaylen Brown.
I'm going to say Kevin Durant, but Jaylen Brown, particularly
for FanDuel.
For FanDuel, you have to play Jaylen Brown. It's really hard because he's asking for cash and GPP. And the lineups I built, like Jaylen Brown's one of my most rostered players, but I came in underweight to him. I'm going to say Kevin Durant there. Jaylen Brown, you have to play him in cash games, though.
Yep, that's the lock for cash.
RADM asks us, what are Robert Williams and Landale's minutes projections? Yes, I'll go right to our
Robert Williams, I'm looking at it, 23.7 minutes here for good old Robert Williams, and Landale, 26.2. So a little bit more for Jock Landale, but of course, Robert Williams, a little bit better of a fantasy point per minute producer.
There's also, I think there's a very wide range of outcomes with Robert Williams minutes.
Correct.
There's a ceiling there for him to far exceed that.
How much Robert did you play? Because I'm at 54% and I'm pretty happy with that.
I have him in a little bit more than half my lineups.
Yeah, it sounds like we're making the same damn lineups. Are we married? Are we entering 300? We can't make those jokes.
Yeah, I can't confirm or deny. Somebody's going to clip this and send it to DraftKings, and I don't know that I could tell them twice that it was a joke. I can't do that.
Have a seat, Mr. Ehrenberg.
Yep, not getting myself in trouble. Whoever it is that reported me, shame on you, because I'm not allowed to make jokes anymore.
Damn it,
I like
on
making
you.
jokes. JEW has left us a question in Discord right before lock. Last man in DK single entry, Smart or Harris? For single entry, off the top of my head, I have these guys so close. I'm going to say Marcus Smart, but you could go either way here. I've got them separated by 1/10 of a fantasy point.
Sick.
It's just utility. Yeah, I'll go Smart over Harris.
I'm just fine with that.
Yeah, they're very close.
I have more Harris, but it is what it is.
Yeah. By the way, in terms of actual exposure, I have more of Harris than Smart, but I have Smart projected better. It's just because of positions that I end up with less of them, but this is just a 1v1. So,
it's really funny when you finish everything up correctly. James Harden, now my second highest owned player. What a time to be alive.
Username wants to know White or Payne. I prefer campaign to Derek White.
Agreed.
And then Zach Attack on FanDuel, real quick one, Bruce Brown and Landale or KCP and Robert Williams. Bruce Brown and Landale.
Bruce Brown and Landale.
Then a super chat for Malcolm Revamp. Oh, he's giving me one here. Greg, stud for DK, GPP and cash. So you got to answer the FanDuel one. I do DK now. Kevin Durant for me.
Beautiful. Durantula.
Yeah. But there's a number of ones you could go here. I would say Durant, number one, Booker, two, probably both of them, if we're being honest. But just one, you want the lock? Kevin Durant. That's the way to go. And that is going to bring us to lock. If you guys haven't done yet, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do you have any final thoughts for the people, Eric? If not, it's okay.
No, I was just going to upload one more version of my lineups because it seemed like a fun thing to do. But hey, it was fun to be back with everybody here for a couple days talking. Next time we come back here next week. Next time it comes around, it'll be conference finals, which is pretty wild to think about.
Yeah, that was very Neil of you. Neil waits until there's 30 seconds left to update his lineups every single slate without fail.
Oh,
so you have filled in his shoes admirably.
Well, I just had to do one thing quick just because it was perturbing me, so I fixed it.
There we go. Eric's lineups are fixed, and hopefully he gets fixed soon as well. So, guys, thank you very much for watching with us. Tomorrow, we'll be back here. Oh, no, actually, I won't. There's no basketball games tomorrow.
Yeah, there are, aren't they?
No.
Oh,
no, that's Saturday.
Yeah, there's definitely basketball tomorrow.
Saturday. Yeah. Today's
dipshit.
So there's basketball tomorrow. Saturday, I won't be though. I'm off Saturday, which is going to be nice. Do you know how long it's been since I got a weekend?
Can we go? I got to go. No, I was kidding. I love you. Don't hurt me.
Can we go? Yeah, we can. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I will apparently be back here tomorrow. I'm not going to be on Saturday because there's no basketball games. So good luck with all your lineups today. Hopefully somebody's going to take down a GPP. See you guys here tomorrow.